Good evening. We're looking at mental health, spiritual health, and transformational faith. We'd like to understand more of those things through hearing your story. So, first question, who do you think you are sitting here today?
I still don't know who I am, Alison, really. I think I would want to say I'm a bit different. I sort of don't have to make any excuses for who I am now. I'm comfortable with who I am, and I'm not what I was. I have a peace all the time that I never had before. I'm a Christian that believes that Jesus is risen physically, and it's not floaty in the sky stuff, it's real. And my faith compels me to do things. You know, I kind of would say, do I still have mental health issues? Yeah, certainly, definitely do. But I'm quite comfortable with them now, you know. It's like, I could never feel any love, you know. I can love people now, but I can allow it to come back. And that's been an amazing experience, you know. Because I think with love, innit, you only keep what you've got by giving it away, don't you?
Indeed.
And I've sort of got that concept now, and I think I'm free, aren't I? I'm free. I'm not trapped anymore.
You certainly seem very free to me.
Yeah.
So, we've actually had quite a day. Would you like to tell us a little about the book and perhaps mention just some of the responses you've had? We did 2 interviews today, one at TBN, which is a filmed one, which is going out in November, and then we were on the Jeremy Vine.
Yeah.
Well, I say we.
We were, Alison, weren't we?
I took the photo after. We were on the Jeremy Vine show, and Jeremy Vine later tweeted it was the best interview he'd done this year. So, but Mick's had responses all afternoon. These are tweets coming in. He's had emails from all sorts of people who are so touched by the interview. Would you like to tell us a little bit about that?
So in the kind of the ministry that we do, it's about brokenness and sharing our brokenness together. So every day I'll be with someone who wants to die. I'll be with someone who's been raped. I'll be with a mother who can't feed her children. And I can go on and on and on. And a lot of the people do die. You know, I prayed with a lady in church on Sunday. She hung herself Monday. You know, that's the ministry that we're part of. So the response has been just the same as it always is. It's been people who've been brutally raped, sexually assaulted, spent times in psychiatric units. A lot of the things that have been coming in today have been around forgiveness. So how have you managed to do what you've done, which is in the book, so how I forgave, and I think my response has been that I can't forgive, but God can. And that's something that sort of transformed my life, really. So in the book, it's my story, and I'm raped when I'm 11-year-old, and the day after, my sister dies. So I don't get that. My mum's holding my dad, and they're crying. There's no space for me, this little boy. So I can't tell. And the day after, I take some painkillers, and all the pain went away. They were my mum's painkillers for a bad back. And I laid on the bed and I floated away. But unfortunately I came back down to earth with a bang, like a come down from the drugs. So I became a drug addict that day, and I used and took anything and everything. So I have this sort of notion of abuse, addiction, my heart going really cold. But the point I'm trying to get at was that I walked into a McDonald's clean, sober, years later, after coming out of a psychiatric unit, helping addicts and people that were just like me to get clean, and there was a man sat there, and he was drunk, he was an alcoholic, and I got him a coffee, something to eat, sat down with him. The long and short of it is, the short version is, I helped him to get sober. He got sober, but he died 2 years later. He'd too much damage to his body with a drink. He knew he was dying, he knew he was going to die. Accepted Christ, so got a peace about him, and he was the man that raped me. But I did want to kill him. I was going to kill him, but I had a choice. And forgiveness for me sort of just glowed and lit me up, and it was saying that I'd lived in his sin all my life, and I really truly felt forgiven for the stuff I'd done. So I made a decision not to live in his sin. And then it became between him and God. It was none of my business anymore. And that transformed my life. That has completely set me free. It's very difficult for when I talk to victims of sexual abuse and all abuse, because they want to hate, and they don't like me saying what I've just said, because they want me to hate as well.
Because you find it very difficult to forgive. There was a time you mentioned in the book that you had an experience when you went to the drug and rehabilitation place.
Yeah.
And you thought, God is going to want me to forgive, and you just didn't want to know. And
No,
it took you a long, long time.
No, I didn't want to forgive. I wanted to hurt.
Yeah.
But in that moment, I knew I had a choice. And it was, and has become, it's none of my business. It's between him and God. It's my faith that did that. Was it painful? It was horrendously painful. Talking to somebody who's done that to you and trying to help them and not telling them. Horrendously painful. But not as painful as being nailed to a cross. You know? I knew that Jesus had gone through the pain and come out resurrected life. And I'd never gone through the pain. All I've ever done is sideswipe the pain, go that way, sex, drugs, rock and roll, anything. No pain, don't go down that road. But I decided to go through the pain. And it's true. He died for me. And I came out to a resurrected life. I wish I could say for that man that I loved him like Jesus did. But I'd be lying. But I didn't hate him. When he died, I didn't hate him. And I have a freedom. And I hear people all the time saying, I forgive myself, mate, for my past and what I've done, and I think, good luck with that one. You can't forgive yourself. You think you can. You just push it down inside further and further. You need a forgiver. And I was able to access my forgiver, Jesus Christ, and understand that life could be different. And it is, you know.
Yeah. So the broken place you've been, how does that help you in your work at Church on the Street?
Say that again, Alison.
The broken place you've been in, how does that help you in your work
Well,
at Church
it's
on the
really
Street?
easy, because I think authentic Christianity is to not pretend you're something else. It's to share your brokenness with each other. That's the true community. That's the real church. I hate churches that are going to where they just pretend everything's all right and yeah, Jesus is my good boyfriend, girlfriend, thing. That's fine. Worship's fine. I'm not saying it's wrong. Worship's good. But authentic Christian community is sharing who you really are, not pretending you're something else. And I'm a mess. Do you know what I mean? I can walk around Asda and think I'd punch him in the face. Do you know what I mean? That's the truth of who I am. But God gives me the grace to not do that. And I get a great joy from knowing my sin. I know my sin, and I know God's taking me out of that. And it's not, oh, sorry, Jesus, I'm really sorry, on to bad and on to guilt. It's nothing like that. It's like, get in there. Thank you, Lord. You're freeing me even more. So I've become grateful for the pain. So therefore, there is no more pain. I never, ever, ever have any negativity. It doesn't exist in my life. I struggle with life, but I share it. I share it with the people who love me, the people who will like me, and I don't pretend that I don't have to stand up and preach as the pastor in the church and pretend I'm not a sinner. I stand up and say what I do, what I feel, how I am, and share it, with the people I love and care about. And they do the same. And that's the wholeness of Christianity. The experience, for me it is anyway, the experience of finding out who you are in community. Because you can't be a Christian by yourself. You just can't. Yeah.
So what are the most meaningful words for you in terms of how God defines you?
How God defines me? Mad, I'd say. I'd say it's all like, I know it's a bit of not the best terminology, is it? Mad, lunatic, that kind of terminology, but I think that I'm not right. But I'm happy and I'm content. I'm not dangerous. I'm just not quite right. But I'm happy to be that.
I wish we were all not quite right like you. And so maybe the last question. Faith is often described as transformational.
Mm.
How would you like to see those close to your heart being transformed?
So I think, for me, the gospel has to be preached in a way that people can understand it. There's lots of Christians that don't really know the gospel, and they think they do, or they don't know how to communicate it to one another. So I want people to experience authentic love. So I sort of look at my New Testament and I see who Jesus is in what he says and what he does, both. And I thought, if I think about Jesus, what comes into my mind? And for some people it's, a picture of somebody on a cross. Some people it's a crown of thorns, or maybe someone in a flowing gown and sandals on and a beard, long hair maybe. And I don't want that, because I'm just making it up, because I weren't there. What I get from my Bible is Jesus' honesty, unselfishness, purity and love. And you could call that Dave if you want, but it's Jesus. And that's a better way to live your life. And I am never going to be all four of them things because I'm not Jesus. But I'm on this journey being, I believe, like John Wesley did, being perfected in love. I believe I'm being perfected. I'm nowhere near, but I'm being perfected. And I can measure myself against Jesus Christ. Not against what you think or Alison says or what I've put in the book. I can measure myself against Jesus. And that's a real privilege. That's life-changing.
Got 2 minutes left. Would you like to leave us with a thought?
Oh, blimey, I don't know. I don't think I'm that kind of clever, but I think what I'd say is, who do you think Jesus is? Really? Who do you really think he is? And how can you serve him? And if you don't know who he is, what are you really serving? Is it yourself? I guess that'd be the challenge. Are you serving yourself, or are you serving an authentic risen Christ? I think that's what